In A Dance with Dragons, Theon Greyjoy has a tense encounter with a figure known only as the Hooded Man. In their brief but memorable interaction, the Hooded Man calls Theon a turncloak, a kinslayer, and he threatens him with violence. Theon denies the accusations, and with good reason. He never actually killed his foster brothers, Bran and Rickon Stark. Theon tells the Hooded Man that he is alive because the gods and his tormentor are not done with him yet. Satisfied with the answer, the Hooded Man vanishes into the night, never to be seen or heard of again for the rest of the novel. Who was he? Why did he approach Theon? What business might he have in the North? It is my belief that the Hooded Man has no secret identity. He has no hidden agenda that must be unraveled. Who he is truly does not matter. He is simply one of the many nameless individuals that have come to occupy Winterfell. His existence was never meant to be a mystery. It only became a mystery because of the killings. To understand, we must needs investigate a series of strange events that occurred in the days leading up to Theon's encounter with the Hooded Man. You see, someone has taken their love of scary hearth tales one step too far. Solving this mystery is going to be murder. The first victim was found at the base of one of Winterfell's inner walls, buried deep under thick layers of snow. He had been a man-at-arms in service to Roger Ryswell. His body might have gone completely unnoticed if not for the dog that dug him up. The same dog would eat most of his face, leaving him almost unrecognizable. It is suggested by Roger Ryswell that the unnamed man was a drunk who had slipped off one of the castle walls and fell to his death while urinating. This is accepted by all as a reasonable explanation for the death. Rumors still swirl, but surely this isn't the beginning of something more. That evening, during supper, Theon Greyjoy is accosted by a washerwoman by the name of Holly. He knows her as one of the companions of the bard named Abel, who plays sweet music during feast times. Holly teases and taunts him, but Theon tells her she must never dare to touch him. Holly is not dissuaded, but she leaves him alone for now. The next morning, a squire of Aenys Frey is found in the castle's lich yard, naked and dead. Aenys suggests the squire had gotten lost while drunk. His theory is that the squire froze to death trying to find his way back to the castle. But how does that explain his nakedness? There is a very real phenomenon called paradoxical undressing. It is when the victims of severe hypothermia feel sudden warmth while in the middle of suffering freezing temperatures, so they remove their clothes for comfort. This leads to greater exposure and only hastens their death. In addition, alcohol consumption in the cold can make a person feel warm, but it actually lowers the body's core temperature, which increases the risk of hypothermia. Is this what happened to the drunken squire? Before the night was over, another body was found. This one a flint crossbowman. His body was found in the stables with a broken skull. Ramsay Snow suggests the man was kicked in the head by a horse. Theon Greyjoy, however, suspects otherwise. It wasn't too long ago that Theon was the invading force occupying the castle, and it was his men that were being brutally murdered. Theon notices the similarities in these new deaths and wonders if perhaps he's living in a sequel. In the next accident, a stable would collapse, killing 20 horses and 2 grooms. Winterfell had been sacked most savagely. Its walls were put to the torch. It could be the new stables were built too quickly and too poorly, that they could not withstand the snow. Or could the collapse have been caused by sabotage? Before the ruins of the stables could be cleared, yet another body was found, and this one could not be reasoned away as anything but murder. One of the bastard's boys, favorites of Ramsay Snow, was found dead with his manhood shoved deep into his mouth. With such force, 3 of his teeth were broken. Perhaps the killer thought this a fitting end for a man called Yellow Dick. Roose orders the man's body burned and that no one speaks of what happened. News of the graphic killing spreads even still. That very night, while walking outside the walls of Winterfell, Theon meets the Hooded Man. Quote, Outside, the snow was coming down so heavily that Theon could not see more than 3 feet ahead of him. He found himself alone in a white wilderness, walls of snow looming up to either side of him chest high. When he raised his head, the snowflakes brushed his cheeks like cold, soft kisses. He could hear the sound of music from the hall behind him, a soft song now, and sad. For a moment, he almost felt at peace. Farther on, he came upon a man striding in the opposite direction, a hooded cloak flapping behind him. When they found themselves face to face, their eyes met briefly. The man put a hand on his dagger. Theon Turncloak, Theon Kinslayer. I was Ironborn. False is all you were. How is it you still breathe? The gods are not done with me, Theon answered, wondering if this could be the killer. The Nightwalker, who stuffed Yellow Dick's cock into his mouth and pushed Roger Risewell's groom off the battlements. Oddly, he was not afraid. He pulled the glove from his left hand. Lord Ramsay is not done with me. The man looked and laughed. I'll leave you to him then. End quote. The man recognizes Theon, but Theon does not recognize the man. The hooded man calls Theon a turncloak, which means he knows Theon's dark history. It could suggest he is of the North. If so, why not enact revenge for Lord Eddard and his sons? The opportunity was there. These details do not appear to be too significant, however. The infamy of his crimes would be well known even among the foot soldiers, and you do not have to be of the North to detest a traitor. This encounter grabs the reader's attention because when it happens, the identity of the killer has yet to be revealed. When the hooded man exposes his dagger, like Theon, you're meant to fear that he might have run into the murderer that has been stalking the castle. But luckily for him, it wasn't. Winterfell has become the castle that dreaded sundown. You'll never know who's going to be next. How can I be so sure the hooded man's identity is not the mystery? Well, the hooded man is not the first nameless character Theon meets who insults him. On his way out of the castle that very night, Theon meets 2 guards. Quote, "Bloody cold up there," one warned. "Bloody cold down there," the other said. "But do as you like, Turncloak." He waved Theon through the gate. End quote. Earlier in that chapter, when Theon is making his way through the castle, he faces another moment of mockery. Quote, "Theon Turncloak," someone said as he passed. Another man turned away at the sight of him. One spat. And why not? He was the traitor who had taken Winterfell by treachery, slain his foster brothers, delivered his own people to be flayed at Mokalin, and given his foster sister to Lord Ramsay's bed. Roose Bolton might make use of him, but true Northmen must despise him. End quote. This seems to occur often enough that Theon has grown used to it. There is another moment where the bastard's boys also take turns making fun of him and threatening him. The encounter with the hooded man isn't personal. After the encounter, Theon is questioned by Roose Bolton, Lady Barbara Dustin, Roger Risewell, and Aenys Frey. They have all come to the same conclusion. There is a murderer in their midst. Risewell's man didn't fall, he was thrown. The Flint crossbowmen and Aenys' squire were murdered in a double event where the killer was brazen enough to strike twice in one day. Yellow Dick and perhaps even the stables were all the work of one man. It has been reported that Theon has been skulking about the castle at odd hours, causing the lords and lady to consider him the culprit. But after examining his hands and noticing his frailty, it becomes quite evident that Theon could not possibly be the killer. However, some readers still maintain the belief that Theon could be the killer. They even believe that he might be the hooded man. There is a passage that some readers believe indicates Theon is suffering from memory loss, that the torture has broken his mind to the point where there are long stretches of time that passes in which Theon is unaware of his own actions. Quote, "As the garrison broke its fast that morning on stale bread fried in bacon grease, the lords and knights ate the bacon. The talk along the benches was of little but the corpse. Stannis has friends inside the castle," Theon heard one sergeant mutter. He was an old, tall-heart man, 3 trees sewn on his ragged surcoat. The watch had just ended. Men were coming in from the cold, stomping their feet to knock the snow off their boots and breeches as the midday meal was served. Blood sausage, leeks, and brown bread still warm from the ovens." End quote. It sounds like Theon arrived in the hall and sat for breakfast, but a moment later, the midday meal was being served. It is an interesting idea. However, this is a chapter where time passes very quickly. Many days are covered in which the murders occur. It can be day in one paragraph, night in another. This is one of those moments, and it's not because Theon has lost sense of himself. Martin simply has a lot of ground to cover. If Theon had lost sense of time, then this should occur in his other chapters. So if Theon and the hooded man did not kill those men, who did? After meeting the hooded man, Theon goes to pray in the castle's godswood. He begs for a quick death, to die as he was born, Theon Greyjoy, an Ironborn of Pike. It is there he's once again accosted by Holly, the Washerwoman. This time she is joined by two companions, a woman named Rowan and another Theon does not know. They tease him, they taunt him, they threaten him. Quote, "Theon wrenched free. 'What do you want?' he asked. 'You,' said the third Washerwoman, an older woman, deep-voiced with gray streaks in her hair. 'I told you. I want to touch you, Turncloak.' Holly smiled. In her hand, a blade appeared." End quote. The killings were the work of one man and 6 spearwives. Rowan, Holly, Squirrel, Willow Witcheye, Frenya, and Myrtle, the silent shadows slaughtering within Winterfell. The bard named Abel is the mastermind behind the murders. Quote, "I could scream," Theon thought. "Someone will hear. The castle is full of armed men." He would be dead before help reached him, to be sure, his blood soaking into the ground to feed the heart tree. And what would be so wrong with that? "Touch me," he said. "Kill me." There was more despair than defiance in his voice. "Go on. Do me. The way you did the others. Yellow Dick and the rest. It was you." Holly laughed. "How could it be us? We're women, teats and cunnies, here to be fucked, not feared." End quote. These are no washerwomen, they're warrior women, wildlings from beyond the wall, spearwives, hardened killers. And they're not taking credit for murders they did not commit. This is no empty bragging, because later, when another body is found, a child of the Freys, Theon turns his suspicions onto the spearwives. Quote, "My brother Merritt's son," Hostine Frey lowered the body to the floor below the dais. "Butchered like a hog and shoved beneath a snowbank. A boy." Little Walder, thought Theon. The big one. He glanced at Rowan. There are 6 of them, he remembered. Any of them could have done this, but the washerwoman felt his eyes. "This was no work of ours," she said. "Be quiet," Abel warned her. End quote. Rowan's reaction to Theon's judgment was genuine. They have murdered here in the castle before, but this one was not their doing. The murders they did carry out was to sow fear and mistrust within the castle. The woman seduced and lured the men to their deaths, which explains why one of the corpses was found naked. If there's chaos within the castle, that might make it easier for the wildlings to carry out their mission, which is to rescue Ramsay's bride, the girl Jane Poole, who everyone believes is Arya Stark. If Theon has not gone truly mad, if the spearwives did the killings, then what was the point of the encounter with the hooded man? The point is to show that no matter the time or the place, Theon will never be able to escape what he has done. Even in the black of night, when he thinks he's all alone, he will be violently reminded of his deeds. Quote, "He could hear the sound of music from the hall behind him, a soft song now, and sad. For a moment, he felt almost at peace." Half a heartbeat later, he meets the hooded man.
She couldn't remember the names. They spun her around on the damp old stone.
The events discussed in this video appear in the chapter called A Ghost in Winterfell. Theon is the titular ghost, haunting the halls, the godswoods, and other dark places to find solace. Theon is a tortured spirit, and unlike the ghost in the stories, his chains are invisible. And like any good ghost, before he can pass on, Theon has unfinished business. But if Theon was the hooded man, if he was the Nightwalker murdering about the castle, but he could not remember it due to the state of his mind, I do not blame him. He's been through so much pain and torment, and besides, we all go a little mad sometimes.